breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Good morning, everybody. Hello. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Chris Cichon. He does such great work over at WBAL in Baltimore. We're going to be chatting about what we've all seen from the Orioles here to begin the season. We're going to be looking at the American League in general, what has been a very wild American League to start the season. And we're also going to be diving in a little bit on what we're seeing in the American League East in specific as well. In the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @GUnit_81. Keep in mind, Lars CM, they mean does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, we had ourselves a fun day of baseball on Tuesday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Milwaukee Brewers upchuck defeat from the jaws of victory to lose 4 straight, 9-7. The Blue Jays are able to get the job done here. As for the Brewers, they were up 4-2 going into the 8th inning. They then allow 4 spot in that 8th inning into the 9th as well. And then in the 9th inning with the Brewers down 2, they tie things up to go to the 10th, and then they give it up in the 10th. For Jacob Misiorowski, he does give up 2 home runs, but they were both of the solo variety. 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings as Andres Gimenez takes him deep for his 3rd home run of the campaign, and then Dalton Varsho his 3rd as well. From there, DL turned it up. Hall pair of outside the bullpen squirrels on El Zerpa, a scoreless inning. Abner Uribe, though, gives up a run in an inning. Trevor McGill has had a rough start to the season. 3 runs allowed in that inning. And then you had 3 runs, 2 of which weren't given up by Grant Anderson in the 10th inning. For the Blue Jays, Kevin Gausman, he gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings, including a home run. Going deep for the Brewers, 1 Mr. Jake Bauers, his 5th home run of the campaign, and Gary Sanchez, 5th home run of the season. That comes off of Braden Fisher, who allows a solo home run in his inning of work. And for Mason Fluharty, along with Taylor Rogers, they both went to scoreless inning. Jeff Hoffman, though, 2 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. Louis Varland gives up an unearned run. It is 1 1/3 innings, but that was enough to be able to get the job done for the Toronto Blue Jays. For the Cincinnati Reds, they were on to a low-scoring win as they get it done by a count of 2-1. Or the San Francisco Giants, you had more than 1 under in Major League Baseball, unlike the slate on Monday. But for Cincinnati, Brady Singer had the Giants singing the blues, gives up a home run over the course of his 6 innings of work. As William Adames, he's able to get his 3rd home run of the campaign, and Robbie Ray said boo to giving up a pair of home runs. Spencer Steer, 3rd home run of the campaign. Sal Stewart, his 5th. So all 3 runs were via solo home runs. Caleb Killian, along Keaton Wynn, Ryan Walker, all in scoreless innings for the Giants. And then on the flip side for the Reds, Emilio Pagan, Tony Santillan, and Graham Ashcraft, they're all able to supply a scoreless inning. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, they find a way to get to Trevor Rogers and get the job done 4-3. As for Rogers, he was in the neighborhood of giving up 4 runs in 4 2/3 innings, including a home run to Iliarmo Vargas, 2nd home run of the campaign. For Merrill Kelly, for start of the season, not bad. Does give up a home run to Samuel Basayo, 3rd home run of the season, but 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. From there, Taylor Clark, 5 outside the bullpen scoreless. Juan Barrio, Ryan Thompson, they combine for a scoreless inning. Paul Sewald, a scoreless inning. And the Orioles bullpen did their part if you had the under like I did. Yunier Cano, don't you know, he was able to give you a scoreless inning. Uncle Rico Garcia, Grant Wolfram, they both give you 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Nick Riquet, he came in for a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless as well, but by then the damage had been done. Doing some damage as well. The Chicago Cubs, 10-4, they're able to take down the Philadelphia Phillies. For the Phillies, Aaron Nola, not so super in this game. 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, but bullpen was far less super. Tim Mesa, 4 runs, 3 which were earned, give it up in a 1/3 of an inning. Brad Keller, he goes for 2/3 of an inning scoreless. Chase Strogert, 2 scoreless innings, and then Tanner Banks, 3 runs allowed in his inning of work as Carson Kelly takes him deep. That was home run number 1 of the campaign for him. You had an opener in this game for Colin Ray, who would give up 3 runs over the course of 6 innings as Riley Martin, he was able to hurl a scoreless inning. For Ray, he does give up a home run to Imando Sosa, first home run of the campaign. From there, Jacob Webb gives up a run in a 1/3 of an inning. Caleb Theobar, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, and then you did get a scoreless inning as well. The newly acquired Ryan Rollison. So Cubs, after they were tied up 3-3, broke this game open late, being able to break things open and get the job done. How about the LA Angels? 7-1. They take down the Yankees. The Angels are back to 500 as Reed Detmers. Really nice start. 1 run allowed over the course of 7 innings. From there, you had Chase Ilseth, Ryan Zefrian, both led a scoreless inning, and for Ryan Weathers, 10 punch-outs, but also gave up 4 home runs, 5 runs in total over the course of his 5 innings. Mike Trout, 5th home run of the campaign. Ori Solares, 5th. Yohan Makata would then go deep off of Yuri De Los Santos for a 2nd home run of the campaign. De Los Santos, 1 run allowed over the course of his 2 innings. Paul Blackburn also allowed a run in an inning. Brent Hedrick, scoreless inning, but also with the home run power as well. Peraza, 3rd home run of the campaign, and Joe Adell, he sets fire to the rain. Home run number 2 of the season. For the Red Sox, they're setting fire to their record. They're 6-11 thus far this season. Worst record in the American League. They fall to the Minnesota Twins by a count of 6-0. Mick Abel, he was able to keep them scoreless. 10 punch-outs, 7 scoreless innings. From there, you had Taylor Rogers, Cole Sands, both led a scoreless inning. And then for the Red Sox, Sonny Gray, this was not a sunny day. He gives up a pair of home runs, 5 runs in total over the course of 4 innings, as Byron Buxton gets his 2nd home run of the campaign. Brooks Lee gets his 3rd, and then Buxton, he would get his 3rd home run of the season as well. He goes deep off of the long reliever in Jack Anderson. In his debut, he wasn't too bad. He gives up 1 run over the course of 3 innings. Aroldis Chapman hurls a scoreless inning in a non-save situation, but damage by then, it had very much been done. For the Detroit Tigers, they didn't do a lot of damage at the plate, but they did enough to get the job done. 2-1, they're able to take down the Kansas City Royals. Cole Reagan's really nice start here. 1 hit in 6 scoreless innings. From there, Matt Strahm, 8 scoreless inning, but Nick Mears yaks away the game in the 8th. He gives up a pair of runs, and Framber Valdez, just 1 run allowed over the course of 7 innings. Kenley Jansen, Will Vest, scoreless 8th and 9th innings. That gets the job done for them. For the Houston Astros, they are right now 6-2 at home, and they are 1-9 on the road, so they love being in Houston, and they get the job done against the Colorado Rockies 7-6. They did a nice job getting to Michael Lorenz in this game. He gives up 7 runs in 2 2/3 innings, and he does give up a bomb as Christian Walker, 4th home run on the campaign. Colton Gordon wasn't great himself. 4 runs allowed over the course of 3 2/3 innings, including a pair of bombs, as you had Hunter Goodman be able to get his 3rd home run of the campaign, and Jordan Beck, he gets his 1st for Goodman. He would then go deep off of AJ Blubaugh, who gives up that home run in 1 1/3 innings, and that's Goodman's 4th of the campaign, but the rest of the bullpen was pretty solid. Kai Wei Tang does give up a run in 1 1/3 innings, but Brian King was the king of giving you 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. You had Stephen Okirk give you a scoreless inning, Añel de los Santos, and out of the bullpen scoreless, and the Rockies' bullpen was pretty solid. Antonio Sensatell in long relief, 3 1/3 innings scoreless. Juan Mejia, Zach Agnos, they're both able to give you a scoreless inning. So Astros, they are now 7-11, so they're open to disappointing right now. For the Cardinals, they were able to disappoint anyone who wanted the Cleveland Guardians to win this game. 6-5 the final, and I was on the Guardians on the money line, and they were up by a count of 5-2 going into the bottom of the 8th inning, and then they yacked this game away as Joey Cantillo, nice start here, 2 runs allowed in 6 innings. He does give up a pair of solo home runs as J.J. Weatherholt, he gets home run number 2 of the campaign, and Ivan Herrera his 1st, and then Eric Zabrowski will give up another one to Weatherholt, 3rd home run of the season. And for the Guardians bullpen, not a great showing here. Zabrowski gives up 2 runs over the course of his inning of work. Sean Armstrong, along with Cade Smith, led a scoreless inning. Tim Aaron, he gives up the unearned run in the 10th inning as being able to get that walk-off winner for St. Louis. You had Nate Church give you a sacrifice fly, and Michael McGreevy, he grieved the fact that he gave up a pair of home runs in this game for Jose Ramirez, his 3rd home run of the season. Daniel Schneemann, his 1st. He gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings. George Soriano, Matt Savanson, Riley O'Brien, all end a scoreless inning. Ryan Stanek's been awful. 3 runs allowed in 2/3 inning, but Jojo Romero, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless to be able to get the job done there. The Atlanta Braves, they get the job done by a count of 6-5 themselves. As for Atlanta, Reynaldo Lopez gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings. From there, Dylan Lee, Tyler Kinley, and Racio Iglesias all in a scoreless inning. You did have Mr. Robert Suarez give up his 1st run as a Brave in his inning of work, but for Max Meyer, 3 runs allowed in 5 innings. From there, Pete Fairbanks absolutely yaks the game away in the 8th inning. 3 runs allowed in an inning. Michael Peterson, great name, 2 scoreless innings, and these 2 teams were good with men in scoring position. Miami, 5-9 with men in scoring position. For the Braves, 4 of 11, and Braves back to being a top 5 offense in terms of run scoring, so they're doing a nice job there. And the Rays, after a little bit of shaky start to the season, are now 9-7. They take down the Chicago White Sox, this by a count of 8-5. Noah Schultz, not the debut he was looking for. 4 runs, 3 of which weren't given up in 4 1/3 innings, 3 of which came in the 1st inning. Bullpen wasn't much help. Brandon Eisert, Lucas Sims, both come in for 4 outs out of the bullpen. Both give up 2 runs apiece. Jordan Nix and Brian Hudson both led a scoreless inning, and Shane McClanahan, 3 runs, 2 of which weren't given up in 5 innings. He does allow a home run as going deep for the Southsiders, you had Everson Perea be able to get a second home run in the campaign, and then a little bit later on in the game, you would have Manitaka Murakami. He gets home run number 5 of the campaign. He's been very much all or nothing, as that solo home run comes off of Yandres Gomez, who gives up 2 runs in 1 2/3 innings. Hunter Biggie, Mason Englert both give you a scoreless inning, and Brian Baker, and out of the bullpen scoreless to be able to get it done there for the Slam Diego Padres. They slammed the door shut on the Seattle Mariners. They get a 4-1 win, as for Seattle, you had Brian Wu say boo to giving up 3 runs over the course of 7 innings. Casey Lugumina gives up a run in an inning, and Michael King was the king. 1 run allowed in 6 innings. Audrey Morejon, Jason Adam both led a scoreless inning, and then Mason Miller, he's able to close things out with a scoreless 9th inning. For the Sacramento A's, they find a way to get the job done 2-1 against the Rangers. Jeffrey Springs was great in this one. 1 run allowed in 6 1/3 innings. First under that we've seen in Sacramento all season long, by the way. Justin Sterner, Hogan Harris from there. They were heroes with a pair of outs out the bullpen scoreless. Elvis Alvarado in out of the bullpen scoreless. Mark Leiter Jr. does not lighter it up. Scoreless inning out of him. And for Mackenzie Gore, not long for this game. Only gives up 2 runs in 4 2/3 innings, but 6 walks. That was costly. From there, Chris Martin out of the bullpen scoreless. He had Robert Garcia supply 1 2/3 innings scoreless. Luis Carvalho pulled after 2 pitches, so that was not amazing. And then Tyler Alexander from there, 1 1/3 innings scoreless. And Dodgers don't quite cover the run line, but they continue to have the best record in baseball. They do find a way against the New York Metropolitans by a count of 2-1 to go to 13-4. As for Nolan McLean, he was great in this game. 1 run allowed in 7 innings. Brooks Raley then goes off the Rayleys, gives up a run in an inning, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto does give up a solo home run. Francisco Lindor, first of the campaign, that's all that he would give up in 7 2/3 innings, so gave up home run to the first batter, and then he settles on in. Blake Trinan from there, out of the bullpen scoreless. Alex Vesia, he gets a scoreless inning to be able to land that save. And if you're taking a look at what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, has been a very overwhelming start to the season, with the overs really catching like wildfire here in the last 7 days. Last 7 days, 53 overs to 35 unders, 60.2% hit rate to the over, and the favorites, they're having a rough go of it. 43-45 on the money line over the last 7 days. All but one of them have covered the run line, but yeah, that's not great to say the least. And if you take a look overall for the season, favorites are hitting at just 53.2%, 134 and 118 on the money line among those 134 favorites. 17 have failed to cover the run line, and the over rate is 53.8%, 134 overs to 115 under. So that's where we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're all getting trend-wise. Coming up next, let's chat it up with one of our good friends as we take a look at this great game of baseball with Chris Cichon, who does amazing work over at WBAL in Baltimore, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man as we've got Chris Cichon aboard. He does such great work over at WBAL in Baltimore, taking a look at a little bit of everything. All the news happenings are happening out there in the great state of Maryland. He's got you guys covered there. Everything that's happening in Charm City, he's got you covered on that front, doing a great job looking at all the local teams with regards to the Maryland Terps, the Orioles, the Baltimore Ravens, and so much more. And you're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at The Big Cheese Show. That is CHEE on Chi before show. And Chris, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Greg, thank you for having me. Yes, if it was up to me, I'd be covering the Orioles pretty much almost every single day, at least in this month of April. A lot of good vibes around here at the moment, especially after the series against both the Giants and the White Sox, with the Orioles kind of rounding into form and looking good, especially considering a lot of injuries that this team is dealing with. Starting pitchers, infielders, now Adley Rutschman. It's been a situation that they've had to overcome, and their depth has been there for them and has been helpful for this team to be staying afloat at the moment, and definitely in early contention with all of these AL East teams. Doing pretty good to start the season. I'll be outside of the Yankees, who went on that little stretch where they were losing.
Yep, and I saw a very interesting tweet on Tuesday, and obviously we are doing this out of knowing how the Tuesday games went, but every single team in the American League entering into Tuesday were within 4 games of each other. And just how do you look at not just the American League East, but the entire league? Because it does very much feel like the National League is the more superior of the league of the two right now, but I mean, it feels like it's anyone's ball game out there in the American League from top to bottom.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, this is what you want to have when we're having the conversation all offseason about the Dodgers, and it was rightfully so when you acquire Kyle Tucker even after winning the World Series. And look, they're still a team that's leading the league in runs, and they can beat you by outscoring you, or they can beat you with their pitching, and they don't even have Blake Snell going at the moment. And who knows, when he's going to be coming back effective. So, yeah, the National League, that's the Dodgers, and everybody else at the moment. We'll kind of see if some teams round into form. But the American League, you said it. And, I've talked about how I like the Royals and their sub 500. They've got guys like Chris Bubic who put together good starts, but they've got guys like Vinny Pasquantino hitting in the 2 spot. And I don't know if he's above the 200 average at the moment. So, yeah, the AL Central is kind of all bunched together. The Guardians are a team that bounces back and forth. Sunday Night Baseball, they got absolutely blasted by the Atlanta Braves. And I know when the Guardians are a team that they've got Tanner Bybee, and he can pitch pretty well at times too. So, yeah, the Guardians, though, that their always problem is going to be their offense. Do we really think they truly have enough scoring? They've got guys who can get on base, but, outside of Kwan and Jose Ramirez, guys like Fry, are they really enough for this team to really make a deep run? The American League West is the Rangers. We just saw them here in Baltimore. That was a team that I was impressed with. Guys like Corey Seager can still hit the baseball, and he's got good numbers over the past since September. Home run to fly ball rate and hard hit percentage, so you know that he can still perform. Evan Carter, Josh Jung, I mean, they got a decent team there in Texas. And then, we just saw DeGrom come out and pitch pretty well the past Sunday against the LA Dodgers. Yeah, I like the Rangers in that one. The team that is not so impressive, I listened to their game. It was the Mariners against the Astros, and Burrows against Matt Barrows against George Kirby in the Monday afternoon. And Josh Naylor didn't have an extra base hit the entirety of the season. The Astros were just what the doctor ordered. He hit that big-time home run, and the over, which I believe you had, at least in terms of your projections that Monday, did ended up coming through. I followed you on that one, and we got home there. So, yeah, we were able to capitalize on the Astros not having such a great rotation at the moment, and a team that they are struggling when it comes to their lineup, just not the same team that they used to be there. And now they just had guys like Jeremy Pena hitting the injured list. So the American League, though, it feels like, to me, the teams that I think are going to emerge are the Rangers, the Yankees. But, yeah, you can make an argument. And, the Blue Jays, they're the defending American League champion. I think they're going to be there, too. They got off to a slow start, but, they're going to be getting Trey Savage here. I don't know how much of a major difference he's going to be. They lost Bichette, but Bichette's not making a massive difference with the Mets at the moment. It's still very early. But, yeah, I was stunned, I think, Greg, to start the season to see the Rays sweeping the Yankees in the way that they did, especially with the Rays not starting off all that hot and the way that the Yankees stormed onto the scene. They won in close matter, but that's what the Rays were able to do. And now I think they've got a closer in Brian Baker, a former Oriole who's got kind of like that bulldog mentality right now that they were lacking without Pete Fairbanks.
Yep, and boy, it's a whole heck of a lot better than what they were getting out of Griffin Jax, who was getting Jax up night in and night out. As we do have our good friend Chris Cichon, he does amazing work over at WBAL, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, and certainly the entire American League looks interesting. And just how do you peg the Orioles right now? Because I do think that it's a little bit difficult. You alluded to it at the top. They're dealing with the injuries right now to Jordan Westberg, which he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. Jackson Holliday is right now out as well. The pitching rotation, the bullpen, it's just been various injuries for them as well, but still, they entered into the day on Tuesday above 500. Lighting the world on fire would not be putting it properly, but getting the job done, I think, would be. I like the pickup of Blaze Alexander in the offseason, and how do you take a look at a team that has been able to do this, all with Pete Alonso being a little bit of a disappointment here in the first 2.5 to 3 weeks of the season?
Well, it really starts the rotation with Trevor Rogers. He ran into some difficulty on Tuesday, but before that was absolutely cruising. I mean, it was a pleasure to watch him. He got burned by a sweeping slider that he got a 6th strikeout on against Tim Tawa, and that was a pitch that Tawa just had absolutely no idea. It looks, when it comes out of his hand, Trevor Rogers, it looks like it's a ball. And it just is able to sweep across the plate there, but it did a little bit too much, and Vargas was able to home run, and the Diamondbacks surprisingly were able to take the lead Tuesday against the Orioles, who were just kind of rolling there, especially with Merrill Kelly, who was struggling at times finding the strike zone. But how do I peg the Orioles? It's a strong team, but their depth is being tested when Colton Cowser's got to probably get more at, Colton Cowser's a guy I think I've been wrong on. Not maybe so much coming into this year. I'm starting to see that he, certainly struggles in situations. There was a spot Tuesday night where, Merrill Kelly had thrown 4 straight balls and walked with the bases loaded, walked in a run. Colton Cowser then comes to the plate and swings at the first pitch and flies out to center. I mean, why aren't you taking more pitches there? That's just silliness. And I know Merrill Kelly's got good chase with his changeup, but you just can't be swinging at the first pitch when you're getting a sequence of balls one after another. But Cowser's a guy, he's got some pop, but you don't want to be seeing him regularly in the lineup. I don't feel that way about Dylan Beavers. He's a guy, he was, the 33 overall pick in the 2022 draft. This is a guy they've got high expectations for, a big-time player. Cal Bear, I believe. So, yeah, he's a good, player for this team. I think somebody who they're going to be counting on can come out of that DH spot, because Basayo is going to now need to basically catch with Rutschman on the injured list. And Rutschman had come onto the scene pretty strong this year, not necessarily delivering with the power, but he was getting on base. He was getting it into the gap. So that's a tough loss for this team. Pete Alonso, slow start, seems to maybe be getting online a little bit. Know that he spoke with the media not even a week ago, and you could visibly tell this was a guy that was knowingly not right. And I don't want to say not right, just not performing. And the expectations for him are huge in this town. So, but at least Gunnar Henderson, he's delivering with the home runs. Maybe not necessarily with the average early on here, but a ton of these Orioles, outside of Taylor Ward has a nice little average to start the season. It wasn't necessarily that great to totally begin it, but he's really come about lately. He's been a guy that has been a nice signing for this team thus far. Tavares has been somebody, hey, you perform, you're going to get playing time, and that's been the case with him. So I've liked what he's been able to do. And Jeremiah Jackson delivering with that grand slam the other day, had a bad base running blunder Tuesday night. So those are some stuff that they're going to have to work on. But, 26 years old, defensively getting it done. He was able to move to second base. That was big there. He's a guy who can hit a fastball that's out of the zone too. We saw that extending the bat on Tuesday night, getting a single to get on base. And Blaze Alexander's a guy hitting at the bottom of that lineup. You mentioned him. Average, not necessarily there, but he's been kind of unlucky. He's shown some hard hit, at least tendencies, at least to start the season here. So he's a guy too that's been able to fill in for Jordan Westberg out at third base at the moment. So yeah, and then, you have Jackson Holiday, he was just in the dugout, at least I know Tuesday, so he's got to be coming back here soon. That's going to be a huge welcome for this team. And yeah, you just talk about a pitching rotation outside of Rogers. Shane Baz, you're going to want a little bit more out of to start the season. It's not like he hasn't been throwing the heat, but he's not going deep into games. You paid him a big-time contract here, and not to say that he, isn't worth it, at least, not in the eyes of Mike Elias, who's been scouting him since he was in high school. But yeah, giving up 9 hits against the Giants Friday night. It's a night that the City Connect uniforms were debuted. This town was on fire for those. And Shane Baz was not exactly able to deliver, with a 4.50 ERA. He's going to be taking on the Diamondbacks here. So yeah, we'll see how Baz, if he's able to perform, but he's given up at least 3 earned runs and 2 out of the 3 outings to start the season. So you expect more out of him. And then Kyle Bradish is somebody that has been a disappointment, to say the least. I mean, I know he was able to get out of a jam in some of his last starts against the White Sox, but it hasn't been all that pretty for him to start the season. Yeah, so you're going to need a little bit more out of Kyle Bradish if you're going to have a rotation that day in and day out is one that is going to be effective. I mean, we just saw Dean Kramer get absolutely lit up. It was controversial that he was sent down in Norfolk, given all he's done for this team, but yeah, I think he is sort of your long guy or call up for the Tides if necessary. But if you're counting on Dean Kramer, that's not necessarily a spot you want to be. And then bullpen, Hey, Yannier Cano has not been the same pitcher for a couple of seasons now. That's unfortunate, but Ryan Helsley looks like a guy who's going to be locking it down. But this bullpen, I'm a tad, concerned about them. There are, guys like Dietrich Enns aren't exactly jumping off the page for me, or Grant Wolfram. So I think they're going to need to maybe look at that when it comes to. But every team, you could say that about every team, basically, that they could use bullpen help, arguably. So I think that the Orioles, though, ultimately are in a decent spot. I think that, they're going to have to assess when it comes to a couple of weeks where they're at, with even guys like Tyler Wells pitching out of the bullpen. Do you move them up to the rotation if there's some struggles with some of those back end guys there? Albert Suarez, you've got long options as well too. So I think the Orioles, that's a long way of saying I think the Orioles are in a nice spot. You can compete with the Tampa Bay Rays. You can compete with the Boston Red Sox, who haven't been all that strong to start the season, and they've felt some boo birds and calls to, sell the team, John Henry. So, yeah, I think the Orioles, based on their schedule and based on what we've seen out of the American League so far, are in a spot where they can compete. They are going to have the Yankees, I know, coming up in a couple of weeks. We'll see kind of where they stand always when you take on the formidable Yankees.
Yep, they certainly will have their work cut out for them, and I think that it is going to be interesting to see what we get all across the AL East, because we've been talking about it. It feels like this American League is tightly bunched, but how do you just take a look at the hierarchy right now, where the Blue Jays have been below 500, the Red Sox have actually been the worst team in the division, and you mentioned it, the Rays, it just feels like they're pesky. I don't know if they're going to be able to be a mainstay, but they've been interesting, and then the Orioles, they entered tied for first place with the New York Yankees entering into Tuesday.
Yeah, and this will be a stretch where the Orioles are going to be taking on after they play the Diamondbacks this afternoon. Jackie Robinson Day should be a nice little time at the stadium. It is very warm here in Baltimore, so the ball could be potentially flying out. But yeah, they're going to have a stretch where they're going to hit the road. They're going to be taking on the Guardians and then the Kansas City Royals before returning home and hosting the Red Sox and the Astros. The Astros, again, I think are a team that are not the same as they once were. The Rays are a team, on one hand, I've said, maybe they just get by beating the Yankees, those close games. But like a guy like Yandy Diaz now hitting at the top of that lineup, he was somebody that wasn't necessarily known as a major power hitter, but he is somebody who has been one of the best hitters in baseball over the course of the season, and it seems like he's 34 years old. He could maybe even reach the numbers of home runs that he hit not in Tropicana Field when they were playing in Steinbrenner Field in Yankee Stadium. Given the pace that he's on, he had a home run, I know, in the first game of the series against the Yankees there. He had a hit in each one of those games. Somebody who is a staple in this lineup and has been for years. And you talk about the rest of the Rays team, too. You've got Junior Caminero, Jonathan Aranda. Those are some nice young core players to this team. Losing Brandon Lau has been something that I thought was going to be a positive. He's been absolutely delivering for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the numbers show his home run to fly ball percentages are just off the charts. So he's somebody that I'm sure the Rays would love to have back. But yeah, they're a team that absolutely knows how to keep their players stockpiled and their depth strong. And I like what the Rays are certainly doing. And I would say another team, too, that I know we're talking about the Red Sox and they've been off to a slow start, but they have a nice player in Wilyer Abreu. I like what he's been able to do for this team. And I still think, I know Garrett Crochet just got absolutely kind of lit up, but that's still an anchor to a rotation, as is Ranger Suarez. So I wouldn't totally panic if I was the Boston Red Sox. Again, this is going to be a big series. And when Boston comes down here to Baltimore, they typically have a nice little crowd here. So we'll see if they are able to deliver when they come down to Camden Yards and take on a Baltimore rotation that, you're going to have some certainly tough starters when you're facing. But like Chris Bassett, I didn't even get into Chris Bassett in that whole conversation earlier. He's somebody, too, is he getting to the stage of his career where, some of the maybe best days of Chris Bassett. And he's somebody who's features so many different pitchers in the model. Consistency's been there for years. Stand out on multiple different teams. But yeah, he's somebody that I'm a little bit tad worried about to start the season. So yeah, I would say if I'm looking at the hierarchy of the American League, and especially there's nobody in the AL East. You can certainly count out the White Sox. You count out of the American League Central, obviously, although the other day, you had Colson Montgomery having himself a nice little day. And, the former Oriole Sir Anthony Dominguez now closing games there. So the White Sox still bad, but certainly, I don't know. It feels like maybe that, they have Murakami now. Maybe there's some pieces. Acuna is there too. They have some nice maybe acquisitions that the team can maybe feel a little bit warm about, that they're trying to at least say, hey, we want to stay competitive. And then, I mentioned in the American League West with the Texas Rangers and then the Seattle Mariners. They have guys that dream core, heart of their lineup with a Rosarena, Julio Rodriguez, and Naylor, but these guys go through their streaks, all three of them. And Brendan Donovan, even at the top of that lineup, I know that he was a big-time acquisition for Dipoto, but he is somebody who you're getting acclimated to a new dugout, and that does take time coming over from St. Louis. But yeah, the Mariners are a team that's certainly formidable, and Cal Raleigh, you're not going to expect him to have the same exact year like he had last year, but certainly a power threat there as well too. And the bullpen, Munoz, guys like that, able to get it done. So you certainly like the Mariners and their chances to make another deep run. The Angels are a team that, you just watched Mike Trout hit a couple of home runs the other day at Yankee Stadium, hearkening back to it makes you at least feel like, oh man, what if Mike Trout was on a solid team, but still don't think the Angels are going to be in a position. Neither do I think with the Astros, as I mentioned. The Tigers are the only one I think I haven't mentioned with talking about some of these American League teams. Yeah, they've got some guys that I think will show up and have a nice depth pieces. Kerry Carpenter, Colt Keith, along with your Spencer Torkelsons, and then Riley Green and Baez. They have, veterans mixed in with some of these young players, and then Tariq Skubal anchoring that rotation. Framber Valdez, he can maybe be inconsistent, but I think ultimately you paid him to be, in that core and making big time starts for you. And I think he'll be better off than, more times than not. I would like my chances if I were the Detroit Tigers to compete in the American League Central, no doubt.
Yep, I do as well, and I think that it's going to be a lot of fun what we see moving forward. You've got a front row seat to it all, Chris. You do such a great job covering the Orioles and all things out there in the lovely city of Baltimore, so love the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Well, coming up, I'm going to be getting together with the SiriusXM fantasy guys this upcoming weekend in New Jersey, so we're going to be out and about partying it up in the northwest portion of New Jersey, watching sports with guys that I came up with in the industry. So very much looking forward to that. We were going to go to the Yankee game. Believe they're playing the Royals on Saturday, but I think I'm going to watch MLB Big Inning, Greg, watch 4 games at once. Plus, you've got NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs. We know March Madness is a great time of year. I know the fall is a great time of year, but like this isn't just, all the sports going on right now. It's overload. It's awesome. And so, I'll be obviously covering the news in Baltimore, but I've got the NFL draft coming up, so it's going to be heavy on the sports too. I'm very much looking forward to that, and always a pleasure joining a show.
And it's always great having Chris aboard. Such a wealth of knowledge, and every single time he joins me, on such great insights. So, a big thanks to Chris for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of podcast. I give you picks and analysis of every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Chris Cichon. He does such great work over at WBAL, taking a look at this great game of baseball, taking a look at all the happenings out there in Charm City. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and did so once again today. So big thanks to Chris for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
If a game name is listed on the betting board. Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. We are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order, and then the Interleague games in time order. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. How about if we get things started? This is 9:01, 9:02 on the card. It is the Cubs, and they're going to be on the road facing off against the Philadelphia Phillies. Shota Imanaga goes for the Cubs, and Jesus Luzardo is on the bump for the Phillies. Phillies between -135 to -140 favorites, +113 to +120. That number on the Cubs. 8.5 to 9 is the total on the 9. Unders -120, and the over is even on the 8.5. Overs -120, under is even. I did set my total at 8.7, and I would personally rather have a 9 to the under rather than an 8.5 to the over, because I do think that there is some positivity to him for Jesus Luzardo. I don't know if he's been tipping pitches or what, but for him, the ERA has just been way, way higher than what you'd expect. A 3.92 ERA last season, but a 2.90 fielding independent. Last year, he was giving up just 0.8 home runs per 9 innings, and yet he was still giving up all the runs that he was. And to begin this season, 17 and a third innings, he's allowed 12 runs, but he's only given up 2 home runs. He's only given up 2 walks, 13.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. There should be a lot of positivity doing for Jesus Luzardo. So I do think that he'll be looking a little bit better. And then for Shota Imanaga, I do think that he's going to give up the deep ball a little bit less this year than he did last year. Last year, he was giving up about 1.9 home runs per 9 innings, only about 7.3 strikeouts per 9. And he's looked much better this year with 20 strikeouts in 16 innings in his first 3 starts. But I do think that the Phillies are going to do a nice job in terms of getting to him here for the Phillies. They have been a bottom 10 team with regards to run creation here to begin this season, but it does look like they're starting to pick it up. They have in the first 2 games of this series, and you've got a guy in Bryce Harper who started off very slow first week and a half of the season. It looks like he's really starting to find his sea legs. You know that Kyle Schwarber is going to give you power. Doesn't necessarily do the best job in terms of moving the line, but you know that the power is going to be there with him. You've had Adolis Garcia give you a few homers. Doesn't necessarily hit for a lot of average. And Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm, these guys need to pick it up. I know that they gave Boehm a little bit of a day off yesterday to try to help him out. And on the flip side, for the Cubs, this team has gotten men on base. They just haven't been able to drive them in. Ian Happ is up in Annapolis, 4+ home runs, about a 320 on base, but Alex Bregman is off to a relatively slow start to the season. Michael Busch, James V. Swanson, both hitting below the Mendoza line of 200. Pico Armstrong, since the All-Star break last year, has been absolutely miserable. And for the Cubs, this is a bullpen that they just don't have the pieces that they did a season ago. You lose the likes of a Brad Keller and Drew Pomeranz, and that really affects you. Phil Matone, Herner Harvey are on the injured list. Daniel Palencia is solid, but Caleb Theobar had a career year last year at the age of right around about 38 years old. I just don't know if he's going to duplicate that. Hobie Milner looks a little bit washed himself, so I do think that the Phillies do a nice job getting to him. And for the Phillies, they now have Yohan Duran in that bullpen. Fully recognize that Jose Alvarado, ever since the drug suspension, has not been the same guy, but getting a Ryan Kirkering off the injured list, former Cub Brad Keller, he knows how to attack these guys. So with the Phillies, set them at a -158 on the money line. Don't want the run line here, but I do want a chalkier money line to go along with the 9 to the under, so I total at 8.7. 903, 904 on the card. It's the Giants on the road against the Reds as Mr. Tyler Mully is on the bump for the Giants, and Rhett Lauder is on the bump for the Reds, and the Reds find themselves as a very slim underdog here, anywhere between about even money to -108, and between -108 to -120. That number on San Francisco, 9 is the total. The over and the under, anywhere between -105 to a -115, and with the Reds, I did make them a pretty decent sized favorite here, -142. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them on the money line. Tyler Mully was really good last year with the Texas Rangers, supplying a 2.16 ERA, but I don't know if that's going to be a mainstay moving forward because he wasn't getting a lot of swings and misses last year, only in that neighborhood about 6.9 or so strikeouts per 9 innings. He gave up just a half home run per 9 innings, so he did a tremendous job in terms of keeping the ball in the yard. But you've got Red Lauder on the flip side, who it's been a very small sample size for him, but I have loved what I've seen out of him thus far in just his 9 total starts at the big league level. He has given up a grand total of 1 home run over the course of 47 innings, 191 ERA. Again, he's only about a 7.5 strikeout per 9 inning guy, so there might be a little bit of regression there, but gets a face-off against a San Francisco Giants lineup that entered into this series dead last in the National League in terms of run scoring, only averaging about 3.2 runs per game. And for the Giants, you just have not gotten the bang for your buck that you thought out of Rafael Devers entering into this series. 222 average, 2 home runs. You just expect a little bit more there. Luis Arias is always good at moving the line. He's hitting at 300, not going to give you power, but does a good job getting on base, and they need it because right now, Eloy Ramos, Jung-Woo Lee, Harrison Bader, all entered in the series. You get 225 or lower. Bader is dealing with a little bit of injury. Drawer Encarnacion has not necessarily moved the line as well. You've actually had Matt Chapman do a solid job in terms of getting on base, and for the Giants last year, they were fourth in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. It looks like it's diminished a little bit this year. They did move someone like a Camilo Duvall at the trade deadline. Yopi Guerrero's on the injured list, and after posting up a sub-2 ERA last season, Eric Miller's regressed. Keaton Wynn has been a little bit shaky to begin the season. Caleb Killian, we'll see if he's able to be a good long guy or not for the team. And for the Reds, thus far, the bullpen has been solid. I really don't trust an Emilio Gahn, but you've got Brock and Roll Burke, Pierce Johnson, who posted up sub-350 ERAs at their respective stops last season. Tony Santillan has always been a relatively solid long guy, and for the Reds, they've been second worst in the National League in terms of run creation entering into the series. And Eugenio Suarez, 49 home runs last season, but a little bit of an all-or-nothing hitter. You know what you can expect out of Ellie De La Cruz, 5 home runs hitting over a 275 entering into the series, and Sal Stewart's been hitting at 300, but you need a little bit more of the likes of A. Spencer Steer, Matt McClain, pair of guys hitting below 225. McClain not hitting any home runs. Cabrian Hayes had a nice back half of the season last year, has not gotten off to a good start this year, but I do think that even though both of these guys pitch a little bit of contact, it is called Great American Small Park for a reason, that you are going to get a little bit of a lower scoring game here. I did set my total at an 8.6, so on the 9, I do like the under. And for the Cincinnati Reds, feel like they should be the favorite. Set them at a minus 142. We'll take that money line to go along with the under. 905, 906 on the card. It is the Washington Nationals. They're going to be on the road going up against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Right now, the betting board reads to be determined for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and Jake Irvin does go for Washington. The initial openers are Pittsburgh between minus 175 to minus 170 on the money line, and plus 120 to lay a run half on the run line with a total of 9. The under is minus 115, over is minus 105, and between plus 145 to a plus 150 is that number on the Washington Nationals. It looks like it should be Carmen Molazinski who gets the start here for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and if that is the case, I would be willing to take that run line of the Pirates. I set them at a plus 112 on the run line, minus 173 on the money line. Have a guy in Jake Irvin that, let's call it what it is, it has been very shaky for him. A 5.70 ERA, giving up over 1.6 home runs per 9 innings last season, and he goes up against the Pittsburgh Pirates lineup that I do think is due him for a little bit of aggression. And I recognize that Mulazinski, he had a little bit of a tough time as a starter last season, but as far this season, he's been able to put it together a little bit more, posting up a 2.51 ERA with 15 strikeouts across 14 and a third innings in his 3 starts thus far this season. And while I don't necessarily have a lot of faith in Gregory Soto at the closer spot, you do have a guy in Justin Lawrence that last year posted up a sub-2 ERA. He's had a little bit of a miserable start to the season. I think that he's going to be able to pick it up a bit more moving forward. Additionally, I do think that you're going to be able to get some good innings out of Isaac Madsen. Yohan Ramirez was a little bit rough last season, but he's been able to start off pretty strong. And for the Pirates, they were actually dead sinking last in the big leagues last year in terms of run creation. O'Neal Cruz was last year hitting below the Bedell's line of 200. He's been hitting darn near 300 with some good power to begin the season. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be a mainstay, but at the same time, it looks like he's very much improved. You've been able to have Brian Reynolds have a little bit of a better year this year than he had a season ago. And for the Pirates as well, you've been able to get good production out of Ryan O'Hearn, who with the Padres and the Orioles last year, 20 plus home runs, was playing a 350 plus on base. They haven't even gotten anything out of Marcell Ozuna or Colton Griffin quite yet, and Nationals entered into the series top 5 in terms of run creation. C.J. Abrams, 18 RBI, 5 plus home runs, sitting over a 400 on base. He's been great. James Wood gave you good wood last year with 30 home runs, over a 400 on base. You've had the likes of Dallin Lyle, Brady House. Not necessarily provide a lot of power, but they're moving the line along. Jacob Young have to have a lot of trepidation, though, with this Washington Nationals bullpen. It is a bullpen that last year was dead last in terms of ERA. Clayton Beater, Ciano Perez, Cole Henry, who's now on the injured list. These guys all supplied north of 4 ERAs. Brad Lord is a relatively good long guy, but you can only use him once every few days. Paxton Schultz, jury's a little bit out on him. I do think that with this being a bit of a pitcher-friendly ballpark, this is a little bit of a high total. I think that these two young teams have gotten off to a little bit of a better start on offense than what you could expect moving forward. So I do like the under on the 9.5, set my total at 8.6, and with the Pirates at a plus 120, willing to take shot on the run line, set mine at a plus 112. 907, 908 on the card. It is the Marlins. They're going to be on the road against the Atlanta Braves. Bryce Elder hopes an outlook elderly for the Braves, and Chris Paddock is on the bump for Miami. Miami is a underdog between plus 136 to a plus 140, and between minus 160 to minus 170 is that number on Atlanta. 8.5 is the total. The over is minus 120, and the under is even, and I did set my total 9.1. I like the over. For Chris Paddock, 5.35 ERA last year. He was getting fewer than 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and I do think that there's going to be a lot of question mark with him moving forward because he's back to giving up 1.8 home runs per 9 innings, just like he was a season ago when he was with the Minnesota Twins and the Detroit Tigers. And I do like the bullpen of the Miami Marlins. You've got Lake Bakar, who's a nice long guy. He's able to give you a sub 3.75 ERA. I felt like Pete Fairbanks was a good pickup. Andrew Nardi. These guys are able to come in there and hold down the fort. And to the credit of the Miami Marlins, this team was second in terms of run creation away from home among National League teams last season. This despite the fact that they were one of the worst teams in terms of hitting home runs last season. And you have had Liam Hicks be able to already supply 3 home runs. Augustin Ramirez was off to a slow start in terms of the deep ball to begin the season. He's got a home run to his credit within the last 72 hours, so that'll get him going. Xavier Edwards does a great job finding a way on base, hitting above 300. Owen Casey has been a nice pickup from the Chicago Cubs. They're still dealing with injuries to Kyle Starworth, Griffin Conine, so might be a little bit more there moving forward. And on the flip side for the Atlanta Braves, I don't know if they're fully back to the guys that were averaging 5.75 runs per game, leading the league in 2023 in terms of run production, but they're back to averaging well north of 5 runs per game, even with Ronald Acuna Jr. having a little bit of a slow start to the season. Drake Baldwin is hitting above 300. He's got 5 home runs. Matt Olson entered into yesterday, 4 bombs, hitting at 299. Austin Riley has been dealing with a little bit of injury over the last few seasons, and he hasn't looked fully 100%, so when he does, that'll be even better for this team. And Mauricio Dubon hitting well above 300. That's rock solid for these guys as well. And Bryce Elder, after he posted up a 5.30 ERA with 1.5 home runs per 9 innings last season, he's looked better here to start the season. Still have to have a little bit of trepidation with the fact that he's given up 2 earned runs over the course of 17 2/3 innings. I do think that he's doing for a little bit of regression, but the swing and miss stuff looks up. Last season, he was getting just 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. This year, 16 punch-outs at 17 2/3 innings, so a little bit over 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, and is backed up by a bullpen that entered in the series numero uno in terms of bullpen ERA. Tyler Kinley, since coming on over from the Rockies, he's been able to supply a sub 250 ERA in an Atlanta Braves uniform. Dylan Lee, Robert Suarez, these guys were very rock solid last season, with Suarez coming over from the Padres after Racio Iglesias had a terrible year last year. He has looked much, much better for this team, so a little bit of an interesting circumstance with regards to this money line price. I set mine at a minus 154. If you're looking to lay run half with the Atlanta Braves, you're going to be getting that right around about a plus 130 to a plus 135. As long as I can get a plus 130 or better, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on that Braves run line. And with regards to this total, I'm going to be in on the over. I did set my total at a 9.1, 909, 910 on the card. It is the Mets, and they're going to be on the road facing off against the LA Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani, Showtime, is going to be on the bump for the Dodgers, and Clay Holmes goes for the New York Mets. Mets who find themselves as big underdogs between plus 185 to a plus 190, and between minus 220 to minus 230. That number on the LA Dodgers, if you're looking to lay a run half with the Dodgers on the run line, going to be fine that right around about even money to even a plus 105 out there. Total is 8. The over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. And I do like this total to the over because even though Clay Holmes has been very good with regards to his ERA since becoming a starter with the New York Mets, you look at him ever since the beginning of the 2025 season, 3.33 ERA, gives up a lot of contact, 6.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. He has allowed over 3 walks per 9. That fielding independent is 4.9, so do think that there's a bit of regression there. And now he has to face off against an LA Dodgers team that's pretty much the best lineup that money can buy. They entered into yesterday averaging 5.9 runs per game. That leads the league. The pitcher in this game, Shohei Ohtani, who, by the way, as a LA Dodger, he's posting up about a 2.15 fielding independent, 10.5 strikeouts, half a home run per 9 innings, so he has been absolutely magnificent as a starter himself. Yeah, he entered into yesterday with 5 home runs as well and gave you a darn near a 400 on base. Will Smith, last year he had a 400 on base. He's starting to find it. Freddie Freeman, he's been able to supply 3 home runs. Heck, Kyle Tucker, he's giving you 350 on base, but he's only hit for 1 home run. You know that's coming. Andy Paez entered into yesterday hitting above a 400 with 5 home runs. He has been absolutely tremendous to start the season. And flip side for the New York Mets, now you've got Juan Soto who's currently out of the fold. That is no doubt a big giant loss for them. And Francisco Lindor, ever since he got to New York, he just has been a really slow starter. Entered into yesterday hitting below a 200 for Marcus Semien just all throughout his time with the Texas Rangers. Never truly found it, and he has not been good to start the season this year. Mark Vientos, he's starting to cool down after a good start to the season, though. Francisco Alvarez, Luis Torrens at the catcher spot. These guys have been rock solid. Bo Bichette has yet to be able to give you bang for your buck with Alvarez. 4 home runs. He was a lone guy with more than 2 home runs in the starting lineup yesterday. For the New York Mets, no longer do they have Edwin Diaz in the bullpen because now he's a part of the LA Dodgers. And Luke Weaver, who was very good with the New York Yankees a season ago, has been absolutely awful for this Mets team. AJ Minter lands on the injured list. Brooks Riley, Oscar Brisbane, sub 350 bullpen ERAs for those two guys, but now you're relying upon Craig Kimbrell. Devin Williams has looked much better, but it's a little bit of a rock and roll bullpen right now in a bad way. And for the Los Angeles Dodgers, you've got a pair of guys with Jack Dreher, Alex Vesia that supplied sub 325 ERAs last season. Blake Tryon has looked resurgent this year. Tanner Scott had a rough 225 season, but that said, in 2024, he was one of the better relievers in all baseball. You pick up Edwin Diaz. Do think that you get some good domination here, and I do think that the Dodgers do a lot of damage for this total size. Semi-total at 8.6, like the over, and with the Dodgers willing to go up to a minus 112, laying a run half on that run line. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It is the Red Sox, and they are going to be on the road against the Minnesota Twins. Simeon Woods Richardson is on the bump for Minnesota, and Connolly Early goes for Boston. And Boston does find themselves as a favorite here of anywhere between minus 126 to a minus 135, between plus 108 to a plus 115. That number on Minnesota, and total on this game is between 7.5 to 8 on the 7.5. Over is minus 125. The under is plus 105 on the 8. The over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And with the Red Sox, I did set them as a mid-tier favorite here. With the Red Sox, I'd be willing to go in up to a minus 133 on them. So right now, seeing that minus 128, I would be willing to lay that for Early. I recognize that, well, it's been early in his MLB career, but he has shown to be a really good swing and miss guy that has been able to do a very solid job in terms of keeping the ball in the yard. He's had fewer than 10 starts throughout his MLB career, but even in that small sample size, he's shown that he belongs. 2.45 ERA with a 176 fielding dependent, has yet to give up a home run in his 7 career starts, 12 strikeouts per 9 innings. He looks to be the real deal. And then for Simeon Woods Richardson, he was a very average starter last year, I think is the best way of putting it. Last year, a 4.04 ERA, 4.52 fielding dependent, 1.4 home runs, 8.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, and thus far this season, 4.60 ERA. He has been giving up a little bit more of the deep ball with 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, and he does face off against a Boston Red Sox lineup that a season ago, it was very good for them. They were a top 7 team in terms of run creation. It's been slow going for them to begin the season. I do think that they're going to be able to get online sooner rather than later. Roman Anthony last year was providing about a 400 on base before he landed on the injury list. Not ideal power, but I think that he's going to be able to give you some good production. Additionally, Trevor Story, Jarren Duran entered into yesterday hitting below a 200, and Caleb Durbin hitting below a $150. You have to feel like they're going to be a little bit better moving forward. I love what I've seen of Weiler Abreu, 3+ home runs, hitting well above 300. Wilson Contreras has been able to give you some pop over a 400 on base as well. And then on the flip side for the Minnesota Twins, they are dealing with a Royce Lewis injury, but still Victor Caratini entered into yesterday hitting above a 350 with regards to that on base. Trevor Larnach is moving the line. They can be a little bit all or nothing with some of these guys like Matt Wallner, Cody Clemens last season. They both hit 20+ home runs, but both the guys were also providing less than a 225. And Byron Buxton has been very slow out the gates as well. Hard to have a lot of faith in this Minnesota Twins bullpen as well. You do have the likes of a Justin Topa, Cody Funderburk that provided about a 4 ERA last season, and Anthony Bondo was very good with the LA Dodgers last season. He has been absolutely awful thus far this season. Taylor Rogers, nice shrewd pickup, but he's getting up there in years. And for the Boston Red Sox, they were number 2 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA last season, having the likes of Greg Weiser, Danny Kalum, Garrett Woodlock that all supplied a sub 325 ERA, with Kalum coming on over from Baltimore along with the Texas Rangers. Aroldis Chapman, he has looked like the best closer in all baseball since the beginning of the 2025 season. Do think that the Red Sox do go out there, get the job done, and do think they get some runs in this game. Semi-total at 80.2, whether you have it at 7.5 or an 8, like the over, and I'm willing to lay up to minus 132 on the Red Sox money line. 9:13, 9:14 on the card. It's the Royals. They're going to be on the road facing off against the Detroit Tigers. Captain Jack Flaherty's on the bump for the Tigres, and Seth Lugo goes for Kansas City. Kansas City anywhere between plus 108 to plus 115. Underdogs minus 126 to minus 136 is that number on Detroit. Your total is 8. The over is anywhere between minus 110 to a minus 105, and the under is between minus 110 to a minus 115. And when it comes to the Royals, I needed at least a plus 154 to take a shot on them, so I'm going to be in on the Detroit Tigers on the money line. For Seth Lugo, while the ERA was relatively solid last season, he was giving up quite a bit of contact, and he was very lucky that he didn't get hurt more by the deep ball than he did. Last season, he was giving up about 1.7 home runs, 3.4 walks per 9 innings, a 4.15 ERA, but a 5.09 fielding dependent, only getting about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, now being 36 years old. Swing and miss stuff is even more diminished. Meanwhile, for Captain Jack Flaherty, he was a little bit unlucky last season, posting up a 4.64 ERA, but fielding dependent more around a 3.85. 1.3 home runs per 9 innings is not ideal, but it's not awful. He was getting about 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. This season, he's had some command issues. He's given up 11 walks over the course of his 14 innings, but do think he's going to find it a little bit more. And for the Detroit Tigers, the bullpen since really the middle of 2025 has been a little bit hot and cold cold. I think that these guys are going to find it. Will Vest, Tyler Holton, Brant Herter, these are guys that have been in the bullpen for quite a while. And last season, all three of these guys were pretty rock solid. All three of these guys were posting up a sub-350 ERA. Kyle Finnegan in a Detroit Tigers uniform has given you a sub-3 ERA. Now, I don't trust in Kenley Jansen whatsoever, but I also do have faith that this Detroit Tigers lineup that it's been a little bit cold with the deep ball, that they're going to heat up a little bit. Last year, Riley Green, allowing Spencer Torkelson. Both of these guys were able to give you a lot of power with 30-plus home runs. Dylan Dingler, he was able to give you over a 340 on base last season. He's been able to do a solid job moving the line along. Kevin McGonigal, who's been hitting above a 300. Gleyber Torres has been a little bit cold, and along with Torkelson with regards to average, but both guys are drawing their walks. Matt Vierling has had a little bit of a shaky start to the season, and for the Royals, this has been one of the lesser offenses in all of baseball. Bobby Witt Jr., there was the insane stat they had reached base like 29 times and touched home plate once going into this series. Just absolutely insane there. Miguel Garcia is hitting a 300, but Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, you rely upon these guys for 25-plus home runs and to be able to give you some average. Both of these guys entered into Tuesday very, very cold, with Pasquantino 0 home runs and a 239 on base. Starling Marte looks like he might be a little bit washed. I will say Carter Jensen, he's been able to give you 3 home runs and above a 300 batting average since the oversleep situation, and this is a Royals bullpen that last year wasn't the top 8 in terms of bullpen ERA, but right now Carlos Estevez has been dealing with a little bit of an injury, so that's been hurting them. Lucas Erceg is a nice closer for this team, though. Alex Lang was a presentable reliever last season. I have to wonder what you're going to get out of him moving forward, but you've got a guy like a Matt Strahm coming on over from the Philadelphia Phillies. Love what he's able to bring to the table, sub 350 ERA. Last few seasons, Daniel Lynch is able to give you multiple innings, but I do think that Seth Lugo is going to have a rough outing and gets lit ablaze here, so I did set a total just a little bit above an 8. I was hovering between an 8.2 to an 8.3, landed on an 8.3, so like the over and with the Tigers, I was willing to go up to a minus 154 on the money line, so take the Tigers money line and the total over 915, 916 on the card. It is the Angels. They're going to be on the road against the New York Yankees. Luis Eel is on the bump for the Yankees. The initial lines were suggesting that Jack Kachanowicz was going to get the start here for the Angels, and with him being the projected starter, with the total, it's a 9.5 under minus 120, over at even, and with the Yankees, minus 190 is what you're finding on the money line with them, plus 160 for the Angels. If you're looking to lay a run half with the Yankees, you'd be able to find that at a plus 105, and I do think that you get a nice scoring expose in this game, but did set my total at a 9.2, so at a 9.5 would be in on the under end. Looking at the Yankees on the run line, even though Luis Eel, he's not really a guy that I trust in. Like, he was very fortunate that he wasn't hurt much worse than he was a season ago, and in his first start of the season, he did have a very rough go of it against the Tampa Bay Rays. Against the Rays, he was taken out of that game very early, 4 innings, he gives up 3 runs, and last season, he posted up a 3.32 ERA, but a 4.63 fielding dependent. He was giving up 5 walks while only getting about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He looked a little bit diminished from the form that he had a few seasons ago when he was really getting a lot of swings and misses, and assuming that you get Kachanowicz in this start, and if you don't get Jack Kachanowicz, I don't think that that's going to be a bad thing, even though he's looked a little bit better here to begin the season for Kachanowicz. A respectable 3.24 ERA through 3 starts. He has yet to give up a home run. Last season was just absolutely abysmal. 4.7 walks, 5.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and a 6.81 ERA that is simply not going to cut it, but I don't think that that's necessarily going to be a mainstay. I think that that's a product of just being successful in a little bit of a small sample size, and he is backed up by a lineup that has been a little bit hit or miss this season, and just really with regards to this LA Angels team, they're always a team that is going to be a little bit boom or bust, because with the LA Angels, that last year they were a top 5 team with regards to home runs on a per at-bat basis, and they were also a bottom 5 team in terms of on-base percentage, and I mean, man, Joe Adell has already robbed 3 home runs this far this season, entered into the series hitting just 1, but he's been able to do a much better job in terms of the overall batting average. He's been able to hit above a 300 to begin the season. Zach Neto has been able to provide quite a bit of power. He, Mike Trout, Ori Soler, all had 5+ home runs this far this season. Now Trout is hitting just a 233 with regards to the average, but he's giving you a 400 on base. Now the guys at the bottom of the lineup as well, Peraza, Bryce Teducio, they've not necessarily been able to give you a whole heck of a lot, and I mean, who knows when Ori Soler is going to be out with a suspension, but I mean, man, they've been able to give you a little bit of pop there, but I do think that for Yale, he does a good job in terms of keeping the ball in the yard, and recognize that the Yankees in game number 1 of this series, they did give up the deep ball quite a bit, but that said, this is a bullpen that I think is going to be able to really have some good moments moving forward. They have a guy in Fernando Cruz that is relatively reliable, a sub-3 ERA last season. Tim Hill, Brent Hendrick, they were able to give you sub-325 ERAs. Camilo Doval, David Benner, they were nice pieces was added at the trade deadline last season. And for the Yankees, they've been an all-or-nothing team to begin the season. Aaron Judge has been able to give you relatively good power, but he's not getting on base the way that he typically does. Entered into yesterday, hitting below a 240. Ahmed Rosario's been solid. He and John Carlos in, both hitting above 280, but it's infield with the likes of Jose Calabrio, Jazz Chisholm, Ryan McMahon, all hitting below a 225. That's been an issue. Trent Grisham has had a fall from a season ago. Love what I'm seeing out of Ben Rice, 3+ home runs. He's been hitting above a 300, but I do think that for Cichon, he's a little bit improved from a season ago. I'm not willing to buy in on him fully, and I do think that he is going to do a nice job keeping the ball in the yard in this game, but might get knocked out early, but do trust in the Yankees bullpen to get the job done. So my total 9.2, so 9.5 or higher in on the under end, with the Yankees willing to lay up to a -115 on that run line. 9:15, 9:18 on the card. It's the Rays. They're going to be on the road against the White Sox. Sean Burke goes for the White Sox. Jesse Schultens is on the bump for the Rays. And for the Rays, they are a very slim favorite / underdog in this spot. Anywhere between -104 to a -115. Between -105 to a -112 is that number on the White Sox. So relative pick'em game, 7.5 to 8 is the total. On the 7.5, overs -115. Unders -105 on the 8. Unders between -115 to -120. Overs between even a -105. Now the wind looks like it should be helping out these pitchers, but even with that, I did set my total at an 8.4. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the over. For Sean Burke last season, he wasn't bad with regards to his ERA, but you look at the advanced numbers, and he's probably doing for a little bit of regression. 4.22 ERA with 4.92 fielding dependent, 1.5 home runs, 4.2 walks allowed per 9 innings, and the White Sox bullpen is not one that's trustworthy. Entered into this series 26th with a 5.35 bullpen ERA. When Sir Anthony Dominguez is your closer, that is not a place where you want to be, and for this White Sox team, they did not necessarily get what they were hoping for out of the young gun and Noah Schultz, as he gave up a bunch of runs very early on yesterday, so that's an issue. Jordan Leisure, he leisurely gives you a 4+ ERA. Chris Murphy might be the most trustworthy guy in the bullpen. He's right now on the injured list. Sean Newcomb is not any good, and for the White Sox, they entered into the series dead sinking last in terms of run creation. I do think that there's going to be a little bit of positivity moving forward. Edgar Quiero was hitting above a 260 last season. He's been hitting below the middle side of 200. Miguel Vargas, Chase Meadroth has been having a relatively rough start to the season as well. As a matter of fact, they did not have a single guy in the starting lineup yesterday hitting above a 250, and you had one guy with an on-base percentage above a 323. You've had Miyutaka Murakami be able to give you 4 home runs, but he's not hitting for any average whatsoever, and this is a Rays team that's walloping the ball. They're a top 8 team right now in terms of run creation. This, despite the fact that Junior Caminero has had a little bit of a rough start to the season. Last year, 44 home runs, just 2 to be able to begin this season, but Yandy Diaz, last year, 25+ bombs, over a 350 on base. He has been magnificent to start the season. Chandler Simpson is hitting darn near 400 right now. Taylor Walls, who has never really been good, he's hitting. Nick Fortes, he's been able to give you about a 300 average. Now for the Rays, this is not the bullpen that they have been in the past, and for Schultens, he was actually a part of the Chicago White Sox in 2023. He was posting up about a 5.20 or so ERA, fielding dependent, very much in line with that. He was being up about 1.5 to 1.6 home runs per 9 innings, so not necessarily great there. He had a just off 2024, 2025 because he was dealing with injury. In his first relief appearance in 2026, though, 4 2/3 innings scoreless, like what I saw there, and they're going to need it because this is a Rays bullpen that has Edwin Uceta, Garrett Clevenger currently on the injured list. Now, the former Orioles, Cole Sulzer, Brian Baker, I think they pick it up a little bit. Griffin Jacks, he's been getting jacks up. He has not been great, and I just still have absolutely no idea why they've been throwing Ian Seymour out of the bullpen instead of as a starter. That's been very perplexing to me, but I do think that Schultens gives you a better start here than Burke, and I do think that the Rays slug their way to victory. Semi-total at 80.4, like the over with the Rays. Set them at a -136, so going to take them on the money line. 919, 920 on the card. The Walker Texas Rangers are on the road against the Athletics. JT Ginninjukes is on the bump for the Athletics. Coomer Rocker goes for the Rangers. Rangers are finding themselves in a relatively pick'em game. You're going to be getting them anywhere in that neighborhood about a -108 to a -110. Between -108 to a -112 is that number on the Athletics. 9.5 is the total. Over is -115, and the under is -105. With the Athletics, I set them at a -107. So when we get the timelines out and you get like a pick'em price, so that would be -105 on both sides, I would side with the Athletics here on the money line. Coomer Rocker was just really bad last year. I wish I could put it any other way. 5.74 ERA. Fielding pennant was a little bit lower, around about a 4.88, but now you have to pitch in a Sacramento ballpark that has been just giving up runs aplenty. Going into Tuesday, Sacramento had not seen an under all season long, so yeah, that's been a little bit rough, and it's not like JT Ginn and Justin's lighting the world on fire since the beginning of the 2025 season. Mostly as a starter, few long relief appearances along the way. 4.88 ERA, 1.6 home runs, 3 walks allowed per 9 innings. Rocker was giving up 1.5 home runs, 3.2 walks per 9 innings last season as well, and for the Athletics, massive home and road splits. Entering into yesterday, 6+ runs per game at home, more than a full run and a half less than that away from home. And for the Athletics, you haven't even really gotten Nick Kurtz going. He's been hitting below 225 to begin the season. Jacob Wilson has not been hitting the way that he was a season ago as well. He entered into yesterday having a little bit of a rough go of it, but you know that these guys are going to pick it up. They're dealing with Brent Rooker being on the injured list, but Shea Langeliers, Shea is banged for 5 home runs. He's hitting darn near 300. The wrong man's Muncy has been Mr. Right for this team thus far. Jeff McNeil's hitting at 300, so the power hasn't necessarily been there yet, but you have to feel like that's going to be coming sooner rather than later. And for the Texas Rangers, Brandon Nimmo has been a really nice find for them thus far, hitting above a 335 going into yesterday with 3 home runs. Corey Seager, Jake Berger are both up to 4 home runs apiece. I will say, I think that Berger, for his 4 home runs, they've come in 2 games. He's had 2 multi-home run games, so he's been a little bit all or nothing so far this season. You do need Wyatt Langford to pick it up. He's been hitting below the Mendoza line of 200, but for the Rangers, one thing that has been big for them, their bullpen last year was in the top 5 in terms of ERA. They've been in the top 5 thus far this season, as Jacob Junis was a nice pickup, sub-3 ERA with the Cleveland Guardians last year. He's able to give you some length. Robert Garcia, Chris Martin, both of these guys have been rock solid, and Cole Winn, sub-2 ERA last season, but again, that bottom of the lineup, you've got so many question marks. Jock Peterson just has not been what they've been hoping for, and I do think that the Athletics are going to be able to get a little bit more online here against Coomer Rocker in a very, very nice hitter's haven. And for the Athletics, yep, bullpen, not great to say the least. You've got Elvis Alvarado, a couple with Hogan Harris, who had right around about a 4 ERA last season. These guys aren't bad, but Scott Barlow looks very much washed. Mark Leiter Jr. just probably does not belong in an MLB bullpen right now, so I think you get runs aplenty. I think that the Athletics win a slugfest. I'm starting to see those minus 105s out there, so minus 106 or better. Looking at the Athletics on the money line, I do like the over. So my total at a 10.2, 921, 922 on the card. The Orioles are going to be playing us to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Eduardo Rodriguez goes for the Snakes. Kyle Bradish goes for Baltimore. Baltimore is a favorite here of any between minus 155 to a minus 165, between plus 132 to a plus 142. That number on Arizona, with 9 being the total. The under is any between minus 110 to a minus 115. The over is between minus 105 to a minus 110. And with Arizona, I made them a plus 141. So plus 142, that is my minimum buy point on the money line, but it is regardless a buy point for me on the money line. I like what Kyle Bradish is able to bring to the table. It's been a very small sample size for him because he has been injured the last few seasons. He has not gone over 10 starts in any of the last 2 seasons, but you take a look at what he's been able to do ever since the beginning of the 2024 campaign, and he's been able to rack up the strikeouts, at least 11.2 strikeouts per 9 innings in all 3 of these seasons. Only combined 17 starts since the beginning of the 2024 campaign, but 307 ERA, 266 fielding dependent, 0.6 home runs, 3.6 walks per 9 innings. But the fact that he can knock himself out of starts early, and the fact that he has been this season specifically giving up 5.9 walks per 9 innings does have to have you have a little bit of trepidation, because they weren't able to get the length that they were hoping for at Trevor Rogers yesterday. He was unable to go a full 5 innings. Now, like Rico Garcia in the bullpen, he's been very rock solid for them to begin the season. Grant Wolfram, he was awful last season. Looks like he's in for a little bit of a better year. Yannick Cano, don't you know, this guy a few years ago was rock solid. Looks like he's getting back into form. And Ryan Elsley, if they can get to the closer spot, he looks a little bit more like the Ryan Elsley that we all know and love from the past. But with this Orioles lineup, man, are they banged up. Adley Rutschman, Jordan Westberg, Jackson Holiday, currently all on the injured list. We talked about this with Chris Cichon, and Samuel Basayo was able to go deep yesterday, but he's been ending below the Mendoza line of 200. Cole Kauser has been hot and cold to begin the season. Taylor Ward last year had over 30 home runs with the Angels, but hit for no average. He's hitting for great average and no power thus far this season, so that's been interesting. And Pete Alonso entered into yesterday, hitting just at 213 with a pair of homers, so they're going to need him to be able to pick it up moving forward. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks last year, 4th in the big leagues in terms of overall run creation. Now they're dealing with injuries of their own, with Gabriel Moreno being on the injured list. Carlos Santana being injured, I honestly don't think is bad. Eliarmo Vargas, I actually think is a better hitter. Jose Fernandez has been hitting darn near 300 for the team. Geraldo Perdomo, cold start to the season, but last few seasons he's been hitting above a 275. And then Corbin Carroll, he's good for 25 plus home runs, over 330 on base. Have to have some pause with regards to this bullpen, as Jonathan the Wise get Taylor Clark. I think that these guys are going to be able to be solid, but I've never really been trusting in Paul Sewald. Juan Murillo had well north of a 4 ERA last season. Kevin Ginkel has had a rough start to the season after he posted up a 70 ERA last season. And for Eduardo Rodriguez, he was posting up about a 501, 502 ERA last season with 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. Saw a dip with regards to the strikeout stuff as well. Fewer than 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. Has been masterful to start the year thus far this season. 18 innings. He has allowed just 1 earned run. I do think that that's going to be doing for regression. He's got only 11 strikeouts in those 18 innings, but he's also only given up 5 walks. He's done a much better job than he did a season ago. ago where he was giving up well over 3.5 walks per 9 innings. But I do think that in the end, the Arizona Diamondbacks should be able to get to Bradish. That's a little bit of a tired Orioles bullpen as well. So I set a total of an 8.7 here at the 9. Think that we've gone a little bit too far, especially with the Orioles, just bruised and battered with that lineup. So like the under, and at a plus 142 or better, do like the Snakes on the money line. 923, 924 on the card. It's the Cleveland Guardians on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals. Dustin May hopes to make it Mayday for the Cleveland Guardians. Slade Cichon is on the bump for Cleveland. This is a relatively pick'em game with the Guardians between minus 102 to a minus 110, minus 105 to a minus 116. Number on St. Louis, 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 110 to a minus 115, and the over is between minus 105 to a minus 110. Do like the under. I set my total at an 8.3. Now, Dustin May had a really miserable year last season. He split time between the LA Dodgers and the Boston Red Sox. He was supplying an ERA of a 4.96 with a 4.88 fielding dependent, and he has given up 15 runs here at 13 1/3 innings to start the season, but looked better in his last start. That fielding dependent of 461 is actually lower than it was a season ago. He's only given up about 2 walks per 9 innings, so feels like the command is a little bit better, and I do think that there's a lot of positivity for him moving forward. Meanwhile, for Cichon, he has been having a little bit of a rough go thus far this season. After last year, he had the same issue, giving up the deep ball. He gave up 1.6 home runs per 9 innings last year, only about 2.2 walks per 9, but here this year, in 15 2/3 innings, he has given up 3 home runs. The walks aren't an issue. He's been giving up fewer than 3 walks per 9 innings, always has throughout his career, but for the Guardians, what I think really helps them out here is the fact that they do have that rock-solid bullpen, as you've got Hunter Gaddis now off the injured list. You know what you're going to be able to get moving forward out of Eric Sabrowski. Now, Kate Smith has been a little bit of an issue, so I did set my money line price here at a minus 103 on the Cardinals if you have an absolute pick 'em. So, I mean, if both teams would be even money, I would be willing to take a shot on the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm just hoping in general that one of these teams becomes plus money, and right now for the Cleveland Guardians, the best I'm finding on them is even money, but it looks like there's a plus 105 popping up. I would be willing to go with the Guardians there, so if we could get some plus money, I'm going to be in on the Guardians, mainly because I do think that bullpen is far superior to that of the St. Louis Cardinals. For the St. Louis Cardinals, Matt Savanson just has not been great in this bullpen. Chris Roycroft was posting up above a 5 ERA last season, and he has been rough to begin the season thus far, and I do think that moving forward, they're going to need to rely mainly on JoJo Romero because Ryan Stanek has been an issue. Now, what else is an issue for opposing teams is Jordan Walker. The fact that he has hit 8 home runs thus far this season, he leads the league there. Ivan Herrera is doing a great job moving the line. Last year, over a 350 on base. Not hitting for a lot of average, but he has given you that about 370 or so on base. Same goes for Alec Burleson. Mason Wynn is not really it for the team thus far, but Victor Scott, even though he doesn't give you a lot of power, he does find a way on base. And for the Guardians last year, bottom 5 team in terms of run scoring, I think that they're going to be a little bit better this year. Chase Slaughter has cooled down since that hot start, but still 5 home runs. Give me over a 350 on base to begin the season. Stephen Kwan is moving line, hitting above a 250. Jose Ramirez had a rough start to the season, but now he's got 3 home runs to his credit. Now, like some of Daniel Schneemann, Brian Rocchio, Bo Naylor, Anel Martinez. Martinez has been much better this year, but in the past, these guys have hit for a 225 or lower. So I do think that you get a nice little bit of a pitcher's duel here. Semi-total at 8.3, like the under in. As long as I can find plus money on the Guardians, going to be in on them on the money line. 925, 926 on the card. It's the Toronto Blue Jays. They're going to be on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers. Chad Patrick is on the bump for the Crew, and Dylan Cease is on the bump for Toronto. Toronto favorites of anywhere between minus 116 to minus 124, between even money to plus 106 is the number on the Crew. 7.5 is the total. The under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105, and I set the Blue Jays at a minus 128. I'm going to be willing to dive in on them on the money line. I do recognize that for Dylan Cease, if you look at the raw ERA last season, it was not great. This guy is pitching much better than what the ERA of a 4.55 from last year would indicate. At a 3.56 fielding dependent, he's got one of the nastiest breaking pitches that you're going to find in all baseball. Was giving up 3.8 walks per 9 innings. That's always been the big issue for him, but he was getting 11 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.1 home runs per 9 last season, and he's been able to do a great job in terms of continuing to get those strikeout numbers here with Toronto, and now he gets a face-off against a lineup that is just all sorts of bruised and battered for the Brewers. They were already dealing with Jackson Chourio along with Andrew Vaughn being out of the fold. Now they've got Christian Yelich, who is going to be out for quite a bit of time. That doesn't help them. It's a Brewers team that was in the top 5 last year in terms of run creation, but they were a bottom 16 with regards to home runs, and now their main managers, aside from Willie William Contreras are all out of the fold. Now, still have Sal Frelick, Bryce Rand, guys that are able to give you 25 plus stolen bases, and guys that are able to do a solid job moving the line. And Brandon Lockridge, when he's been out there, he has been really good for this team as well. But I do think that for the Brewers, they are going to be running into a few issues there. And when it comes to this Brewers bullpen, you have so many guys like Trevor McGill, Abner Uribe, Grant Anderson that were all able to give you a sub-350 ERA last season. They've been a little bit more shaky to start the year this year. I do think that they're going to find it a little bit more. And for Chad Patrick, had an amazing start to the 2025 campaign, a little bit of a tumultuous end to it. But you take a look at the ERA and the fielding independent, it was very much in line. He was getting a 353 ERA with a 353 fielding independent, getting 9.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, only giving up about 1 home run per 9. So I do think that there's going to be a little bit of improvement here for him in season number 2 at the big league level. But I also do think that there's improvement coming for the Toronto Blue Jays lineup. Flagler Jr. had just 23 home runs during the regular season. And he's been a little bit cold with regards to power, but he's still doing a nice job finding a way to be able to move the line, get on base. For this Blue Jays lineup in general, you just have not been able to get a lot. So many guys that were able to come up clutch in the postseason last year. Nathan Lukes has been hitting below a 100 this season. Andres Jimenez has actually been rock solid, but right now you've got, don't call his name, Leander Kirk on the injury list. Kazuma Okamoto, after a nice first few games of the season, he's been having a rough go of it. And for George Springer, he entered into this series hitting below the Mendoza line of 200. It extends all the way down to the bullpen as well, as they're in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, with Mason Fluharty right now posting up an ERA above a 6. It has been very little for Brandon Little thus far. He's been posting up an ERA above a 9. He's been all sorts of brutal there. And with the Toronto Blue Jays, you just don't know where you're going to be able to find that relief pitching, as Jeff Hoffman hasn't been what they hoped for. Was relatively solid in the postseason last year, and that's been an issue. Do like Tyler Rogers along Louis Varland, but still, I do think that Dylan Cease gives a good enough start to be able to get the job done. And I do think that for Chad Patrick, he does take it a little bit on the chin in this game, and we have seen Cease have his walks issues as well. So semi-total 7.6 at the 7.5. Do like the over, and for the Blue Jays, willing to lay up to a minus 127 on their money line. 927, 928. It's the Rockies against the Houston Astros. We believe that it's going to be one Mr. Jose Quintana who's going to get the start for the Rockies, but that's currently listed as TBD. Same for the Astros starter, so this game is currently off the board. The initial readings, the tea leaves I was seeing was Spencer Arrighetti, but that said, that's very much up in the air, and if you do indeed get Spencer Arrighetti going against Jose Quintana, my handicap is the Astros being a minus 162 favorite, so I'd be willing to lay up to a minus 161 on the money line, or just plus 122 or better. We'll be looking a little bit more at the run line, plus 163 or better in on the Colorado Rockies, and set a total here of an 8.6. For the 8.5 or less, I'd be in on the over. A 9 or higher, I'd be in on an under. If you do indeed get Spencer Arrighetti, he's got relatively good swing and miss stuff, but for one, this is an Astros bullpen that is right now just looking trash with Josh Hader currently in the fold. They've had Bennett Sosa deal with injuries as well. You've had Brian DeBreu really regress here in the beginning part of the season, so you've had all sorts of issues there. And for Spencer Arrighetti, he was relatively solid as a rookie when he was getting about 10.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, really regressed in his 7 starts last year. He was just never healthy throughout the season. He was giving up a home run and a half per 9 innings, 5.35 ERA. And for Jose Quintana on the flip side, I just don't have a lot of faith in him either if he does indeed get the start. Now, the Rockies bullpen has actually been relatively rock solid. We've seen the likes of Victor Vodnik, Jimmy Harrigan, Juan Mejia supply sub-450 ERAs last season. Mejia's had a little bit of a rough start to the season, but overall, these guys have been solid. Zach Agnos has been able to give you some good long relief for Quintana. Made one start here with the Rockies, gave up 2 runs over the course of 4 1/3 innings. You go back to what he did last season with the Brewers, a solid 3.96 ERA, but a 4.81 fielding dependent, so you do have to have your trepidations there. And if you do indeed get Arrighetti along with Jose Quintana, I do think that you're going to get a lot of bullpen pitching, and a lot of this handicap is going to come down to the offense. I don't think that we're going to have too much of a change in handicap if we get flip starters. I wouldn't be surprised if Chase Dollander perhaps gets a little bit of a go here for the Colorado Rockies, but the Rockies are going to need to get as much length as possible because Michael Lorenzen got completely lit up yesterday. You've got Jose Altuve hitting above a 300 for this unit. Yordan Alvarez is finally healthy, and he's been giving you over a 450 on base, entered into yesterday with 6 home runs. Christian Walker is finally living up to that contract, 4 home runs. He's giving you over 350 on base. Cam Smith has given you 3 home runs. He's moving the line. Christian Vasquez at the catcher spot, along with Yanier Diaz. These guys have been solid. And on the flip side for the Rockies, they always have demonstrative home and road splits with their offense. They've been better on offense this season, though. Mickey Moniak has already been able to supply 5 home runs. Hunter Goodman, he's been able to give you a trio of bombs. He's given you about a 333 on base. Now, when it comes to to a guy like a Brenton Doyle. Last year he had like a 300 at home and a $160 away from home, but he's been a little bit more consistent. A young guy like a TJ Romfield, I feel like he doesn't know that you're supposed to have big splits between home and road. He's been able to do a rock solid job there as well. Again, starters might change, but thinking that with regards to this handicap, it's going to be a case where at a plus 122 or better, going to be looking at the Astros on the run line. I set their money line at a minus 162, so plus 163 or better. Looking at the Rockies, and then 8.5 or less, like the over 9 or higher to the under. Wrap things up with 929, 930. The Mariners are going to be on the road against the Slam Diego Padres as Randy Vasquez goes for the Pods and Emerson Hancock goes for Seattle. Seattle is a very small underdog here of anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 110, between minus 105 to a minus 115. Then number on the Pods. Total on this game is 8. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. And did set my total at 7.9. So here at the 8, I do like the under. For Randy Vasquez, I was not impressed with him in the 2025 season, but has looked much better here in 2026. Last year, he was getting only about 5.3 strikeouts and 3.5 walks per 9 innings. He's up to 9.5 strikeouts and 2 walks per 9 innings. Did get a little bit hit around in his last start, but overall, he does look like a completely different pitcher, and that's a big reason why I did set the Padres at a minus 123. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them on the money line. Conversely, Emerson Hancock has looked like a different pitcher as well. Now, last time out, he did give up some runs, but after posting up a 4.90 ERA last season and not getting a lot of swing and miss, only 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, he's actually gotten 19 strikeouts in 17 and 2/3 innings in his first 3 starts of the season here, while only giving up 3 walks. I don't know if this is going to be a mainstay, and I do think that both guys might be doing for a little bit of regression, but keep in mind Petco Park, one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in all of baseball, and for the Seattle Mariners, they entered in this series dead last in the big leagues in terms of run creation away from home with only about 2.2 runs per game. That's going to be going northward. You have big dumper Cal Raleigh hitting like a 200 with 2 home runs going into this series, and you know that Josh Naylor was hitting a $125 entering into the series. He's going to be able to pick it up a little bit. Luke Raley to be able to give you 3 home runs. J.P. Crawford, Dom Canzone, these guys hitting below a 225. You're going to pick it up, and Brandon Donovan's been a nice pickup. Flip side for the San Diego Padres, you've not really gotten a lot out of Manny Machado along with Fernando Tatis Jr. Machado's giving you over a 370 on base, but no power, hitting for less than a 225 with regards to that average. Tatis, he was stuck on 0 home runs going into this series as well. Ramon Laureano with his 4 home runs actually leading the way, and then you've had some like a Freddie Fermin at the catcher spot, not necessarily give you a whole heck of a lot for the Padres. They do have a bullpen that was number 1 in terms of VRA last season, though Jeremiah Estrada now lands on the injured list. They just get back Wandy Peralta. That should help them out. Adrian Morejon has been a little bit rough to begin the season, but Jason Adams sub 225 ERA last 2 seasons. He and Mason Miller make a nice duo, and Matt Price, Andres Munoz for the Seattle Mariners, one of the best 8th and 9th inning duos that you're going to find in all of baseball. Edward Bizardo, Gabe Spire, these guys supplied a sub 325 ERA last season as well. So I do think that the pitching is going to be rock solid in this game, even though I do expect a little bit of positivity with the offense and trusting the Padres bullpen a little bit more and Vasquez a little bit more. So I totaled 7.9, so at the 8, like the under, and I do like the Padres up to a minus 122 on the money line, and that'll wrap things up for the Wednesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have 1 or 2 ways we fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Big thanks once again to Chris Cichon, who does such great work over at WBAL in Baltimore, for joining me in the last segment, and I'm with you guys every single day, doing picks and analysis on every game, every day, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.